Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2 with the fastest player in the game, and in my not so humble opinion, the most entertaining. The Zerg in the red, the Italian stallion. It's Reynor, facing off against the loose cannon, the Protoss in the blue. We have Xiao in a best of 5 Protoss versus Zerg showdown between two of the least predictable players in the game. But I think that makes for the most entertaining ones. And if you like good games, and it'd be kind of weird if you didn't, but if you like good games, it'd be awesome if you could smash that like button. And maybe even subscribe. How we kind of the algorithm. And Jimmy, what are we at? And don't screw it up this time. 1,681 likes on this video, on this cast, and I'll cast another one. And I'll probably do it anyways because I don't know what else I'd do with my life. But thank you for watching. Hopefully you've had a good day so far. And hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better as the first probe caught in the corner and persecuted for the crimes of trespassing, of shoplifting 5 minerals, and most importantly, being Protoss. At least in the eyes of about 2/3. But the probe gonna scout around for the third base. The queen gonna come out, get in on the action, soften it up enough for the Zerglings to take it out. And, well, the adept will immediately spot the third base, the information that was denied to the probe. And there's not much Reynor can do besides discourage the adept from completing the shade-in, but really there's, until Zergling speed is done, the Protoss will get pretty much full scouting. And speaking of scouting, there's a Phoenix on the way for Xiao. Opting for the Phoenix first, which is like the budget version, the light version of the Void Ray, clearly intending to deny Overlords. Occasionally you'll see the rug pull, sort of queen lift into Oracle laser build, but that is well out of style since the Spore Crawler got slightly buffed. But the Overlords, only one of them even close to being across the map. Reynor, well, most Zerg players nowadays will only send maybe one Overlord across because honestly, they're just kind of a liability. It's what they are, all right? They can't help it. We've all been there. Like and subscribe for existential dread. Behind a Twilight Council, no gases at the natural. Well, we got about an 80% chance of Glaives, a 20% chance of charge lots, and a 100% chance of a reason to remember the name. But Xiao going with the classic. They won't expect the Glaive to depths build. And the thing is, he's selling it well so far. Quick third base, the adepts at the front, but there's no reason for him to suspect it. Especially now that the feet... No, you don't have to talk. We can all see it. You'll be remembered. The Overlord will spot the Phoenix in the most dramatic way possible. Be popped like a overripe tomato and taken out of the sky. But really the most important information was the Phoenix. And that's the important information for Zoun. Because he's telling Reynor right now, I'm doing a macro build. Alright, I'm hiding probably something behind it, but the Phoenix is a much more macro play. The thing is, it is still Glaive the depths, and I think Reynor is buying what he's selling right here. He's got 55 drones and counting. He's got a layer on the way, getting more gases. These are not the actions of someone who suspects shenanigans right now. Not the actions of someone who suspects a bunch of Glaive adepts. For adepts, the shady bunch, that's a normal amount. That is a typical amount of adepts. Let's not be too worried about that. The Zerglings scouting around, getting a little suspicious now, but Reynor's going up past 60 drones. The Oracles come in, and I tried to incinerate some of the drones, but it's not going to happen. And now the adepts, he hid them in the main base, and they're ready to be revealed. Like one of the least happy loot boxes here for Reynor. As the adepts throwing shade across the map, the roaches on the way. Reynor scrambling to build them, but he didn't have much larva for the roaches. He built plenty of drones, arguably, definitely too many. But he likely will take some damage here. Locks the drones out in order to keep the adepts, quarantines them from the base, but he's gonna lose so many drones to this. Stasis on either side of the wall will actually lock the roach in. I don't know if he'll cancel the evolution chamber, but the refugee drones are being hunted down mercilessly by the units explicitly designed for it. And speaking of explicit, this damage is significant. 12 drones dead. The 4th base under fire. Actually, the adepts, definitely not the best at taking down hatcheries. They're not big game hunters. Your mother will have other predators, but trying to take down the hatch, but I actually think Zoun got a little distracted. Those adepts kind of lost track of things, and it could have been much, much worse. Wow. Okay, the total damage. Well, still continuing. Kills 8 still 13 drones, 15 lings, a whole lot of mining time lost. And behind it, Zoun was not... This was not all in. He was still building probes. He's got Storm already halfway done. Robotics facility, Blink, a forge. I guess the forge being that late is possibly the only saving grace for Reynor, but basic upgrades are not that important for the Protoss army in this scenario. Storm, on the other hand, is. And it's going to be far and away completed by the time any sort of counterattack could arrive. I think Reynor very aware of that, with the oracles to constantly scout. One comes in, and... Get off my creep! That feel good, Brenda? It felt great, Susan! Felt amazing! No, sorry. I am... Oh, I blacked out for a moment. Hydra Den on the way. Reynor clearly taking the more macro-oriented route. It's not about how many units you lose, it's about how many you can build to replace them. And Reynor embodies that possibly more than any other player in the game. It's not always efficient, but it's effective. And now, 160 supply against 125 coming across the map. Storm should be done. Overseer coming into the main. Yeah, well, we know it's done. The real question is how many Templar. Splits the Red Sea, tries to target some down, but there's more than enough Stalkers here to take the smaller amounts of roaches, even if he does pick off a Templar. And Zoun has battened down the hatches, built the cannons, warped in the Templar, and he's ready to defend. Lurker Den is on the way. Hive as well. Overlord speed, all the fixins. Reynor with 87 drones, 4 bases, going on 5. The one major issue is how delayed his tech was because of the Glaives. It looks like he's bounced back. It looks like he's recovered. But there's kind of this secondary war going on. The tech tree growing on either side. And Reynor's not going to have lurkers to deal with this. Though Xiao is moving out with 150 supply. This might be the ideal for Reynor, as he has the greatest supply advantage he's going to get for the near future if he's not, well, assuming he's not able to crush this. But here comes Xiao, just targeting down some of the Templars. Reynor with the roaches and Hydras, boxing out on either side, but he's down to 1 Templar with 1 Storm left. And he's digging quite deep here. Is it too greedily? Time will tell. Lurkers are done. No lurker range on the way, which I think is just a mistake out of Reynor. That lurker range absolutely critical for dealing with ground armies or just in general. Without it, it still outranges Stalkers and Immortals, but not by very much. A fleet beacon is on the way back at home. Zoun clearly realizing this will not be the game-ending composition. The last storm is used. But Reynor still has the army to drive this back. Zoun has been playing an offensive defense right here, it feels like. Now, it's teching up behind. Lurkers and Hydras. Actually targets down the prism, cuts off the reinforcements, and cuts through many of the Stalkers. But the Lurkers on the high ground, they don't need range if the Stalkers are up close and personal. Zoun maneuvering around. The Gateway Man style is working out so far. +1 upgrades on either side. Blunks forward into the Lurkers. A bold move, and it seems like it worked out for him. 150 to 130 supply, but the closer they draw to even, the more awkward a situation it is for Reynor. The Queens called into the front line yet again. The Hydras stuck behind him, and the concave favors Reynor. Any amount of damage that can be absorbed and keep the Hydras. They do incredible DPS, but they're made of tissue paper and dreams. And, like, whatever the spine things are. And plot devices, because they always seem to pop up and unburrow whenever we need a dramatic cinematic with a main character who's about to die. Or die. Before something is revealed. Now, it doesn't happen a lot in the campaign, but it happens 2 times. Which is, you know, still interesting. Zeratul, Kerrigan. Moving on. Spoilers, by the way, sorry. Dropper Lords are on the way. Lurker drop could be the way to keep Xiao at bay. Because right now, Reynor he hasn't been able to make a very offensive play. So far in this game, he hasn't had much of a say. But, there's a chance here with the Dropper Lords that he'll be okay. We'll have to see. Like and subscribe. Nidus as well. The Dropper Lords are loaded up. Will he spot the Zealots and just drop out? Making things kind of awkward. I think he spotted them. He's going to commit to it anyways. Well, Zealots on the right. Zealots on the left. Lurker drop off to the side and kind of in limbo right now. Zoun doing a great job of holding things at bay. A few more. No, Brett! A tough go of it. Hydras and Lings will clear up the Zealots. The timing is coming in. And here comes Reynor. Gonna do his best to line up the 3-pawn timing attack. We've got Lurkers down the front. 200 supply, but the Tempests have arrived. Reynor ready with a full-pronged assault. 4, drop. Oh, nope. Nope, it's a disaster. Okay. He spotted it way early. Well, the Zealots saw it earlier. Zoun anticipated the Tempest will shut it down. The Nidus to reinforce, but that attempt, the multi-pronged attempt, is just bent off at the spork there. And now Reynor, he might be even on supply, he might even be banking money, but his Spire is halfway done against Zoun, who already has +1 air weapons on the way. He's got that 6-7 Tempest count. Hydras are not an anti-air unit, though the used Hydra dealer may advertise to you that they could be. It is a fool's errand to use Hydras as your main anti-air capabilities. Picking off 1 or 2 Tempests, okay. Getting the Warp Prism, fine. Observers, I mean, come on. But this sort of Tempest count requires Corruptors, and that's why they're built in the first place. 1, to take out the Lurkers, and 2, to force something more substantial that isn't going to get stormed off the map immediately. So, Reynor has to buy some time until... And now the real struggle is deciding how many Corruptors. Too many, and you might kill the Tempest, and then watch as your Corruptors are taken out by the ground army. Too few, and you might as well not have built them at all, as killing 3 out of 6 Tempests for that investment is not. It's just not. Okay, I have spoken. I will elaborate no further. Mothership is on the way. Robotics facility, halfway there. Another Zealot counter, just throwing them every which way, but keeping Reynor busy until he can put the full army together. So Zoun has to be careful not to be too wasteful. He doesn't have that much in the bank. He's been throwing a lot of Zealots into the fray. Just literal speed bumps. Alright, they charge in the glorious battle, but just not for long. A Nidus at the very back. Not enough warp-ins to maybe take it out in time, but some of the Stalkers coming back down. But Reynor has managed to maneuver around. He's gonna pick off 1, 2, 3 full energy Templar. Oh, wow. Small units, big impact. There's still plenty of Templar, but they just got warped in. There's no substitute for experience. Well, there's energy recharge, I guess, but, you know, there's some substitutes on a long cooldown for experience. Without the double storms on those Templar, this actually is an opportunity, maybe not to break the death ball, but at least to retake the initiative for Reynor. He's going to be driven back on the right flank. There's some Lurkers on the left. Going to use the Nidus down the center. That quadruple prong play again. But Zoun is boxing out on every side. The Lurkers are revealed, but we've arrived! Holding everything together. Usually used as... No! Okay, transfuses. Really? Right now? Now is not the time, Susan! The Tempest's gonna shell, and the Queens are gonna be no match for it. Pop right back in. The creep tomb, 1 creep tumor may finish. Meanwhile, storms. A cataclysm for the Hydralisk. But I think there's only 1 more storm. Okay, well, there were 2 more storms. The Lurkers at the back eviscerating the rest of the army. How did you get here? Oh, it was a Nidus. Mothership, time warp. Queens in a time warp off of creep. Feels like they should just go backwards at some point. Meanwhile, though, the only thing going backwards is Reynor's supply, which would have been clever if he wasn't still at 200. Another Nidus worm into the main, but Reynor with the onslaught. 670 APM. But Zoun is keeping up with him because Reynor is still scrambling to deal with the Tempest. He hasn't built the Corruptors. He hasn't... he knows he has the Spire. He has 92 drones. Picks off one Tempest, but doesn't have anything to deal with the cloaking. There's no Overseers here. One of the Immortals hung out to dry. One Overseer comes up. Might be able to target down the Observers, potentially. No. There's plenty of Observers. There's like 2-3 of them. What a hectic game. Reynor doing what he does best, which is control the chaos. But Zoun is keeping up with him. And still, the momentum is in the Protoss' hands. Yes, Reynor has more supply, and arguably more in the bank. But I'm telling you right now, this army only gets harder and harder to deal with. He hasn't denied any bases. Zoun is still mining off of like 5 base gas, though the main base should be mined out by now. Well, this one. Yeah, the main base for Zoun. Zerg doesn't always mine from both gassers because they're real mineral hungry. We got 8 Tempests. We got the mothership. On top of everything, another Nidus at the 3rd base. The Hydras across the line. There's not that many Templar underneath, but that's still too many. Meanwhile, the Lurkers eviscerating the 3rd base. A recall right on top of it. Already just backs off instead. One Lurker obliterated. Oh no, the Templar! It's fine. Wow, the Templar just like, hold me! But it wasn't the end. Either way, they just wanted to be Archons. They just used any excuse. We've all been there. Emotions run high. Meanwhile, observers spotting these maneuvers. Somehow in the... oh, there's just an Overseer hanging out in the main. It's kind of most of its job, but... Lurkers over to the right. Lurkers down the center. Nidus at the back. Warps in a couple Zealots. Zoun on top of it. But the Hydra... oh, the hero! Gets one of the Tempests. But the main army will brutalize everything to the right. A couple Zealots just chewing through the base to the top left corner. The Nexus, stripped of shields, recall on cooldown. Mothership's over to the right, hunting the Zerg to the ends of the earth. And he's already backed up against it. 13 more Hydras in production. Reynor, not a single Corruptor built so far. There's still 7 Tempests in the Mothership on the field. He hasn't been... oh, he does have +1 flyer attack. But the Queens, the +1 Carapace taken down. Clearly, armor upgrades not really valuable here, but the sheer amount of damage each side is able to do to one another. An absolute brawl. But again, it still feels like Reynor is treading water. He is staying afloat for now. He has yet to drown in the amount of splash damage that Zoun is bringing to the table. And very importantly, he's mining off the center base, the mixed gold base. Zoun didn't even take down the destructible rocks that destroy half the mineral patches there, which I think he had the opportunity earlier, so a bit of a mistake. But Reynor has what? This hatchery. Nobody... don't close the door too hard. Don't slam the fucking door. Oh, so low. Zed's dead, baby. Oracle, Revelation. Yep, those are some Lurkers. There's some observers with it, but the Tempests, they cannot be contested on the open field. Not with a full death ball underneath him. He needs Corruptors. Otherwise, you're relying on Xiao making a mistake. And so far, he's kept up with him. Reynor has been so fast and so furious that he's actually managed... another drop comes in. The Nidus. But the army gonna be intercepted. 2 more Niduses on the way. The Zealot! No! Oh, there it goes. The hatch is taken out. Double Nidus. The reinforcements are being intercepted. The army, there's no escape. Being cornered by the mothership, it lunges to the side, but into the storms, picks off 1 Templar. Reynor's losing so much here. He does not have the money to replace it. He just lost one of his mining bases. It's a disaster. Finally, the chickens came home. Or something like that. 123 Hydras. So, if you're wondering why Hydras aren't an anti-air unit, Reynor has lost 123 Hydras. He has destroyed 2 Tempests. At some point, you require the corruptors. Sometimes, you can overwhelm them entirely. Destroy the ground army, then wipe out the air. But Reynor has not dealt with the economy. Not well enough. Not before his own was shattered. Under the weight of this army. More Tempest back at home. The Templar just coating the Hydras, already in autumn colors with the storms. The Lurkers. Hydra's dead. Lurkers, free pickings for the Tempest. Lunges back. Zerglings. GG! Reynor taps it out, and Zoun holds it down. Started with the Glaives, but didn't end there. He got the Spire, but sometimes Reynor just gets caught up. Alright? He has a tendency to get tunnel visioned on this unit composition. And it oftentimes works. How do words work? On that note, game 2. Wow, that was bad. Jimmy, edit that out. I'll re-record something clever and profound, like generic commentary about the efficiency of the Protoss Death Ball and the requirement for corruptors and the fact that if Reynor ever laid off the gas, he might not have any to spend. That was good. We'll use that. And from the perspective of someone who's been under fire the entire game, you really desperately do not want them to build the Death Ball. You need to keep it at bay. Your best opportunity is usually trying to catch the army out. So, what? Is that a cannon rush? Yeah, it's just a cannon rush. What year is it? What? Is that a single spot? Disgusting. He was pulling the drones, but I'm pretty sure you can jam a cannon there. How long has he been holding on to this one? And he pops the drone out because if there's not enough physical space, it will teleport your probe away. So, there's no way the drones break this. Another cannon, that'll be canceled. This will finish. He's boxing out the probes. So here's the thing. One cannon can be killed by queens, potentially. If the drones can stop the probes... Oh, wow. Slick micro to down. Beautifully done. That was disgustingly beautiful. And yes, hunts him, but it will cost the drones. This base is done. Now... we have to ask ourselves that eternal caster question, though. Have you liked and subscribed? And at what cost? He lost multiple probes. His Nexus, if he's ever going to build one, is incredibly delayed. Reynor can just... oh, even gets the drone out. Drones survive with 1 HP because of their natural regen that starts the moment they get hit. So if 2 cannons fire at a drone, it will die, like, at the same time. But if one is firing, it'll hit twice, but the drone will regen 1 HP in that time. The Broodling's covering for the escape. He's building an Overlord here, but the larva actually taken out. But if it's still larva, you get the money back. Fun fact. Okay. Well, that's disgusting. I didn't actually know. I can't believe we played this map for months, and this is the first time I'm seeing someone use that disgusting cannon rush. Wow. But... here's the thing. The queen... so, queens can hit it from the high ground. This is not a permanent... I don't think these cannons are even in range of the ramp. Maybe of the very edge, but you'd have to, like, go out of your way, literally. He's gonna build a spine crawler. Yeah, he can break the pylons from the high ground. Yeah, well... we don't go over there anymore. Alright. Used to be our base, but nowadays, them Protoss... we don't like their kind around these parts. Now the queen. Not even bothering to hit it. The spine crawler will eventually break it. But here we are. Huh. Now, I love it, but also, I am not sure it was worth it. Now, at the less accomplished levels, a cannon rush can have a mental impact that is undeniable. But here, a spine crawler will just tentacle jab its way out of this situation pretty quickly. A single adept. Their speed almost done, though, so this should be a non-issue. Stargate completed the Overlord, just kind of saw everything. He's gonna kill a couple drones. Actually, I think Reynor didn't really respect the adept. Because just one adept, right? Like, whatever. But losing 3 drones, and, well, it gets out for a bit. Wait! No, the cannons! I mean, for now. But this has escalated from an inconvenience to a bit of a kerfuffle, I will say. Eventually, the pylon will be depowered, and with it, the cannons. But it might be enough. No, the adept isn't going to make it out. You're not going to recall that thing, right? Who might? Wow, he gets a drone. That's a lot more than I ever expected that adept to get done. And I'm pretty sure a lot more than Reynor ever expected as well, because he clearly did not respect it at all. And he ends up losing a not insignificant chunk of his early economy. So now he has 3 bases and anywhere but where you'd like them to be. Well, okay, well, he just doesn't have his natural. It's not that dramatic. Phoenix on the way behind this. Oh, is he going to do the slip and slide? I'm coming up with new names for, like, the Phoenix, lift a queen, and burn things with Oracle build. Rug pull, slip and slide. The hoodwink. Don't know if I like that. Like, not really a common strategy. And he's like, and then for my next trick, I go Glaive to depths. Okay, Zest. Reynor up to 50 drones, though. Very importantly, he got those extra hatcheries quickly. And Xiao is not going to have his third nearly on the time he'd like it. He's forced to warp in more. The Oracles come back home to deal with this. And that's even more time lost. The Phoenix. But he's going to spot the Twilight Cap. It's probably charged. So, Reynor has all of the info. Are we just going to see a Roach Warren? Yeah, this... Xiao just isn't able to scale that quickly. He's going out with a shady bunch here. 7, Glaive to depths. There's already Zerglings on the way. The Spine Crawler moved its way down. Hey, sit down, sir! Oh, this was an awkward time to unburrow the spine. This is actually... Oh, wow. That's actually a big mistake. Sir! With the Spine Crawler, this would be not nearly the threat it is right now. It's still going to be dealt with. But the Adept surviving it all is because that Spine Crawler decided to take an awkward work break. Just wanted to stretch its legs, which awkwardly it does have. A lot of legs. Does it have toes, though? Find out more on my Dronely fans. Link in the description. Patreon. Hydroden, of course. As Blink and +1 are the follow-up. So I'm trying to swerve into a more normie sort of build. Stasis? Meh. Single drone, just gonna take it for now. Yeah, this is... It has been a convoluted game. Xiao has done a lot to kind of throw things out of whack, but this time around, Reynor, not really thrown off at all. He is easily going to have the economy, the production, and the motivation to crush Xiao on the field. Even if there is Storm, no, this is the sort of economy that you can hammer the Protoss over and over and over again until they break. You can trade dozens of supply for a single Templar with this sort of economy. This is exactly what Reynor wants. He did not get slowed down dramatically in comparison. This is his wheelhouse right here. And Xiao is going to have a real tough time surviving. I think maybe 1 wave, okay. 2nd wave, a little worse. 3rd wave, I'm predicting 3.5 waves. Like the 3rd wave doesn't quite do it, but it kind of does. But we have to wait for the GG. That's my prediction. All right, make your predictions now. Tell me if you were right. All right. Charge just begun. The army. Storm in 8 seconds. It will be completed. +1 melee attack versus +1 ground weapons. Wave 1 begins. A Warping of Zealots. He's just going to target the forge. The storms are ready. Gonna try to ward away. He's not using them. Holds them for the Hydras on the back line. And so far, a solid defense. The Zealots thinning things out. Oh, but the Templar gotta be careful. There's the Storm. Gets the Merge. Targets the Oracle. Wave 1 kind of escalating. And, yeah. The problem is, the Storms are exhausted, and Reynor's gonna have another round. So, Zoun survives. But I think my prediction was optimistic. Wave 1 is defended. But it's not gonna get much easier from here. 70 supply gap, 88 drones, and counting. The Stalkers have Blink. The Zealots very much do not. And the Zerglings might be able to grab them again. Energy recharge still 15 seconds out, and round 2 is bearing down on him. Trying to reach out. Needs a few more seconds. Spots the stasis. Energy recharge available. Uses the storm. Oh, working on that +2. He really wants the forge. He might just trade the Hydras for it. It's worth it. Oh, takes it down. Here come the lurkers. We'll call that 2.38 repeating, of course. But the lurkers, they don't need their range, their hive tech here. The storm's on the back line. See, even fire, the lurkers just slicing through. Well, no, I should have stuck with my original prediction. No, I was... Reynor eventually drowns him in the Sea of Zerg and strikes back. The cannon rush. I did not know that. Well, it's not a great positioning to jam the cannon in. Reynor just kind of ignored it for the most part and adapted. Xiao getting more done afterwards, but he hurt his own economy, I think, more than he hurt Reynor's. So, the end result... Reynor able to get that 3 bases and 70+ drones that Zerg players live for because they die without it, but also just generally. It's both a metaphor and literal. We're all tied up. Ley lines. That's a very early probe. So, interesting that, like, Classic does not send the probe out until after the gate. Okay, just letting the Zerg get their expansion. Classic has always been a much more macro, like you can get 3 base, I can get 3 base, all right. Is your name Serral? No? Good luck. Even Serral sometimes, but not lately. Zoun, on the other hand, is a very much in-your-face. Both these players are like that. That's why I think this matchup can be definitely more hectic and already proven, but they're both thinking about how they can screw up your day before worrying too much about their own and relying on their mechanics and their speed to keep up back at home. Which I think Clem, another player like that, you have your macro gods like Classic, like Cure, like Serral, of course, and then you have our Arbiters of Chaos. Lords of Chaos? Whatever chaos. The title changes randomly. But your players like Dark. Come back to us, Dark. Reynor. Zoun. Clem. Players who thrive the more chaotic the game gets. Gumiho, I would say, isn't on that list. Sometimes, and sometimes very much not. A bit of a mixed bag there. Beyond. Hero. 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 Hero, probably the most obvious choice out of all of them. Bronze League Hero. The most accomplished diamond player in StarCraft 2. But now this is an interesting wall. Let me decide if I hate it. Aesthetically, not really. Architecturally, it depends on whether you can jam it. So the reason you do this is because this way you can wall with a single slot without needing a second gate. Usually you have your 2 gates and then a cyber core, and you can make that little nice tight wall in. But, of course, that requires another large building. Here, if you use the pylon as part of the wall, it's more vulnerable, but you can wall off with just that single gap way earlier. So that's why a lot of players will use it. But many players smartly will add like a gateway later on when you have a little bit more money to make sure the pylon isn't the vulnerable point. But I don't think you can. So I'm gonna give that one like a 17 out of 29. Personally. For now. We'll see. Rolling score. Phoenix. It's not just a single. Zoun is also charting his own course here. I have not seen anyone else use Phoenixes, even to kill the first overlords. I avoid Rays, usually the anti-scouting choice. Phoenixes just don't have the defensive potential usually. Obviously are way more maneuverable. And way cheaper. Oracle comes out just in time to prevent the adepts from getting slaughtered by the Zerglings. Lights up the Oracle preemptively. Is he going to go back and sip on some energy recharge? No. Well, he can light it up again. This is awkward. Reynor still manages to get the probe, which will prevent the pylon from being built there. Yeah, I do hate it. Downgrading to 15 out of 29. Brenda, remember when we could fly? Susan, we're not doing this again. We do this like every single day. I don't need it today. I know. Well, I feel like it's important to bring up. No, we're not talking about bringing anything up. That's the point. Enough. Sorry, I am... Another Twilight Council with no fort. But wait, time for my next trick. It's the same trick as last time. It's Glaive to depths. I mean, it worked, technically. A Roach one on the way. The Oracle with near full energy. The Phoenix just trying to go about its business. There is a transfuse. Just in time. Permanent hull damage now. Is he just gonna go Glaive to depths? What? Blink? What is this swerve? He's got 10 adepts shady across the map. I mean, even without glaives, they are quite dangerous. The army is 24 Zerglings, 6 queens. Huh. Zoun just... The YOLO time... Oh, no, there's no... Well, okay. The stasis is definitely an interesting one. Takes out the Oracle, which certainly solves that problem. Zergling's not going to find anything on the counter. 4 drones so far. Zoun is still building probes behind this. He actually takes the worker lead, gonna recall out. So thus ends this saga. That, you know what Zoun reminds me of, and not just because the name is the most similar, is Zest. Not even Hero, because Hero has like a weird sort of method to his man, like a Forrest Gumpian sort of. That was just... What was that? That was just whatever adepts he had lying around. And now he's going blink, but it's not there. Thing is, though, that was such a random timing. Reynor's kind of just using... Once again, Reynor's just building up his economy because... What? Who knows what's behind that? Zoun's gonna have the 3 bases. I don't think it was worth it, but he did buy himself some space with that maneuver, such as it was. So... Huh. The Phoenix actually still going. Quite an impressive run so far. Only killed 2 Overlords, but it's still being alive to scout and keep the Overlords boxed in is doing a lot to keep Reynor in the dark, relatively. Though, of course, he always has those Zerglings out there. Hive and Lurker Den on the way. Energy recharge. Juices up one of the Templar. That wall in. Sounds like, See the Cyber Core exposed like a sore thumb. And I'm pretty sure the Protoss only have like 3 fingers, so the thumb is a significant percentage of the amount of digits they have. The Zerglings do not care about the storm. They just eat through the Nexus and weather it. Well, only like 3 of them survived, but I think it was... So, there are circumstances where sacrificing units for a base is worth it, and some where it's clearly a mistake. But when a Protoss is trying to get a 4th base, and you're teching up with this sort of economy, throwing away 20, 30 Zerglings is well worth it to deny that sort of endgame economy for the Protoss. Now we'll see if Zoun can capitalize on the loss of those units. I mean, that was another like 30 Zerglings there. This is the closest the army supplies are going to get for the near future. Zoun is again just moving out with what he has. Charge about to complete. Sentry dies immediately. Leading the charge is not the ideal maneuver for the sentry, but alas. Now the lurkers are done. Unfortunately, just a little bit too late to exploit the lack of them. There's an observer, there's an oracle, but there's not nearly enough to grind through the lurkers. So a fleet beacon starts immediately back at home. But 89 drones, I fear Reynor has already reached that critical mass. It isn't nearly as decisive as last game. But this time around, the adepts, they did nothing. The 4th base is not comfortably mining. The Tempests have yet to enter production. Reynor already has lurker range. He already has 89 drones. He already has 5 bases. The only thing he's lacking is any Fox. 2nd Stargate is on the way. Adrenal gland, some of the Hydras dragging out of position, but he's going to just dive on the base. Oh, he's going to recall on it, but the lurkers are already here. The recall into the lurkers. The Oracle did not drop the Revelation in time. Well, it got it on like 2 or 3 of the lurkers, but not... Oh, this is a disaster. Just eviscerates the Zealots and a whole bunch of Templar as well. Eventually, the Zealots will deal with it, but he didn't even have the observers on everything. Many of the Zealots badly bruised, permanently damaged. Reynor's already remaxed out. A couple Tempests on the way, but... Zoun still has the economy, but Reynor is not going to give him the time to leverage it. Lurkers are slicing through that mediocre front wall. The Zealots just darting across the map, and that is something that Reynor may eventually have to deal with. But he's already dealing with the Mineralon at the natural. A couple Tempests are not so many that the Hydras can't bring them down. Lurkers at the 4th base. The probes being gutted. 14 probes dead. The Zealots will be cleaned up. They may get the hatchery. Just barely. But, it's not worth it. The Lurkers, he can see them. He just can't stop them. The Zerglings, Adrenal Gland's now done. And the Adrenalings gonna help rip through the Nexus yet again. Slowly chipping away at the Lurkers, but he needs a jackhammer at this point, not a chisel. Hydras, Lings, and Lurkers, oh my. And Zoun is beaten back, beaten down. And in general, I think Reynor's going to match point. Let's fight it out. I mean, it's hard to break it. Those Tempests, Reynor's forced to back off. Which, you know, The first step to winning is not losing, but feels like there's quite a marathon here between Zoun and a positive result. Look. Archon taken down. Closes in. Takes out the Tempest. And takes match point. Reynor. 2-1. Well played there, Zoun. His haphazard style, I think, getting the better of him there. Just throwing it out there so hard that he threw out his shoulder more than anything else. The 10 non-glaved adepts timing, and by timing I mean kind of felt like he had 10 adepts, so that's what we're eating tonight for dinner. Not that Protoss would have much knowledge of such things without mouths, therefore maybe that's why it was an issue, but at least he puts the pylon on the little indicator spot, so I do appreciate that. Gateway. Reynor, not bothering. He didn't go for the quick hatch. So there are some strategies now that the hatchery is a slight discount, where you'll do the extractor trick to get a couple extra drones, or just send the drone down at like 14 supply, but you cut so much into your economy that it's almost doing the Protoss's job for them to do so, to try to get the hatchery before the probe gets there. Because the intent of the probe blocking the hatch is to make it more difficult to have a stable economy. So if you cut like 2-3 drones to get an earlier hatchery, then the probe's already done its job, even if you expand to the natural. So I think that's Reynor's thought process here. And instead of bothering for the quick hatch, he just gets a more economically timed one. But he will have to defend it at the third. It's a trade-off. Of course, sending a probe out right off the bat is also a trade-off. That is a significant percentage of your economy in the early game. All right? So, it definitely slows you down as Protoss. I think there's a reason why Classic doesn't do it very often. And he is the kind of build order Protoss, whereas Zoun is clearly less restricted by the bounds of strict build orders. Could have phrased that better, but you got the idea. Stargate on the way. Will we go Phoenix again? Phoenix is just the odd Stargate unit out right now. The SGU. Oh. Whatever happened to Stargate? They canceled Stargate Universe, didn't they? I think just when it was getting pretty good. Whatever happened to Stargate? I mean, I had quite a run, but I don't even know who owns it. I'm sure some corporation. Wouldn't it suck if a mega corporation who made, like, entertainment products was sitting on such a iconic IP and doing nothing with it besides hoarding it in the attic somewhere because they thought it would be too expensive without a return on investment? Wouldn't it really suck if there was a company out there who had maybe even something based on like sci-fi or stars or something that just completely ignored this beloved storyline and characters and just genre in general? That would suck, wouldn't it? But I can't think of any examples. Phoenix first. Xiao playing to the beat of his own drum here. Again. completely different style. That it feels like all other Protoss at least work off the same playbook. But Zoun's over here with his own finger paints, which, again, we already established that's even more difficult for Protoss than anyone else. So, it looks to be yet another Glaives. The thing is, it only takes a split second of miss micro, and the Glaive Adepts will kill a quarter of your economy. It is... They are so dangerous. Yet... I was wrong. Charge! It'll look like Glaives to Reynor. Or at least, he may assume it, but charge lots, definitely a different slant on it. Less outright potential to slaughter the economy, more potential to just win the game. Charge lots can be countered by a critical mass of roaches more easily than Glaive Adepts, because Glaive Adepts are so slippery. But when you get charged, one, the charge lots don't cost gas. That's part of the reason you don't see Adepts past their expiration date of like 6 minutes. But because you're not investing as much gas, you can get a Templar Archives quicker behind. And in general, they're a more useful part of a mid-late game army. They just get a lot more done for a lot less effort. So, it is a more long-term option. That doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a good one. We got a Spire on the way, though, as Reynor may be angling towards Mutas. 64 drones and counting. It looks like assuming Blinkstalkers. Mutalisk making a very slight comeback as a kind of tempo-based counter to Blink builds. Since Blinkstalkers can't be everywhere at once, Mutas fly a little faster. But this is not the case. This is a whole bunch of charge lots. Ye old charge lot all in. And this time around, John... Hey! Brenda, you're flying again! Shut up! Get me down! The Evo chamber wall is cut down easily, and Reynor... Whoa, where are your units? He just now is popping out roaches, and just picking up one queen at a time. The Zerglings are boxed in by a single zealot. The Oracle doing plenty of damage and will burn through the queen. Wait a second. The roaches are popping up, but he might just be able to kill the roach Warren. Picking up individual... The Phoenix. I'm participating. Actually, the Phoenix picking up the queens and allowing the Oracle to keep doing that. This wins the game. Like I said, the charge lots have more outright kill potential. And here, Reynor... I feel like these all-ins are hitting so late that Reynor is convincing himself they're not all-in. He's not doing the due diligence. He didn't send in an overseer. He would have been building roaches way quicker. And Zoun exploits that lack of info to incredible effect. And we're all tied up. Oh my, Game 5 is on Last Fantasy. That's okay. Our 3-player map that rarely even makes it through the veto process. But here we are. Jimmy. Yes, there's a spawn location to the north, and both players are sending their first scouting units towards it. So, our first more than 2-player map in the pool for many years. Still heavily vetoed. I don't know how many times this was played in the World Cup. Maybe like 4 or 5 total out of, well, punching well under its weight proportionally. I'm sure Ley Lines was played like 38. However many series there were had Ley Lines in it. The most non-controversial map of all time, but... I'd be surprised if it was as high as 5. With 9 maps in the pool, and only 1 best of 9. Well, the probe's going to scout here. Neither player doing something dependent on their opponent not scouting it as early as you'd expect. But conveniently for Reynor, the probe won't be able to block because it just went the wrong direction. So that means he'll get a bit of an edge in just having that hatchery on, well, a much more timely manner. I don't know. Well, they're so... It immediately makes you think it's going to be cheese. The map. Like, it's hard to get away from. The main base is massive, so Nidus and Stargate are definitely big options. It would be so cliche to just do a big all-in. That doesn't necessarily make it bad. There's no ramp to the natural. Any sort of flat plane makes it a lot easier to do outright all-ins for either side, like we saw last game. Not too many maps have ramps up to the natural nowadays. That is possibly the most defensive feature for the early mid-game. The high ground. Don't underestimate it. Stargate on the way. Reynor not mining any gas. Clearly just focused on pumping up that economy. I have no, like, usually some analysis, but it feels like Zoun is just kind of whipping out his deck of cards, pulling one out. It's like, it's charge slot all in. I have so many of this card. The only card I have more of is a Glaive adept timing. But still. Reynor clearly off balance. Even though he's been able to recover, every game Zoun has set the tone. Sometimes that tone has not worked out for him, but he has taken the initiative. And I wouldn't be surprised to see it again. Plenty of Zerglings. 8 Zerglings. That's oh my... It wasn't a wall. Of course. To be honest, he probably plays this map so little. If that's what does... No way, that's what does it. Okay. The Zerglings, knowing the Adepts will shade away. But the fact he screwed up the wall there. Not unexpected, but... Oracle protecting the third. Few more Zerglings being incremented out. He's going to expand towards Reynor, using that as a staging area, which... Now, there's still a ramp protecting the area up to the base. Some speed zones down the center. Work for everything. Air and ground. Twilight Council's nearly done. That Roach Warren is a little earlier than a safety warren. Reynor at 44 drones and adding some more. Charge is on the way. Another... Even Moracles? I'm just staring at the production tab for this series. These two, all over the place. Roaches. Seven roaches at a time. Clearly anticipate. He's played enough now. After 5 games, I think he's just assuming there's going to be some sort of Twilight shenanigans. Alright, not glittery vampires, but instead, glittery space wizards. The charge launch being wolfed in, but this time, the roaches will be fully operational by the time the charge launch arrive. He's going directly into a brick wall right now. In fact, Reynor might be able to get aggressive. The roaches, I believe, were spotted. Does he have a lair? Yes. He's not even getting roach speed. He just started roach speed after reaching, like, what, a dozen roaches? Enough so that charge lots can't fight each of them individually, so they can cover each other. I think that's the intent there. Oracles. Warp Prism on the way. Zerglings. There's another shield battery, walling off so much of his mining to make the safest possible base. Oracles deny the 4th base. The Warp Prism sneaking around to the south. Templar Archives on the way. Just a whole bunch of roaches for Reynor. He's not going to let this position go. That is a quick rush distance. He could bring the queens quite easily as well. Speaking of, though, Beset by the charge lots. An optimistic base. The Zealots actually just go for it. Reynor's up 50 supply. Zoun. Yes, roaches are the least supply efficient unit in the game. But, The Dropper Lords, the German taxi build. Started by Lambo, but the way to bring the queens to the front, special chauffeurs for them. All right, everyone, got your ticket? We don't do tickets anymore since the accident, Susan. Oh, yeah, that's a good point. I did it. Scooch over. There's plenty of space in here. Yeah, like between your ears. 1, rude, and 2, I don't think we have ears. We have, like, whatever the birds have. Anyways. Oh, here comes Reynor. The drop coming in, the roaches at the front, the storm not quite done. The queen's on the way across. The roaches have already overrun the ground. The queens are superfluous. And Reynor, weathering the storms, taking down the Templar. The queens knock out the oracles. He drops in, Xiao drops out, and Reynor takes the series 3-2. Kind of an anticlimactic ending, but a dramatic one nonetheless. As these two going back and forth. It started off with a drawn-out slugfest, and then just a back-and-forth brawl, with Xiao throwing haymakers the entire time, and Reynor eventually adapting to the idea. I think it was pretty clear by Game 5. He had the whole playbook figured out. And Xiao unfortunately played right into it. So Reynor with a comfortable victory despite such a close series. Xiao, one of the few players who has really made a comeback as well. But it's still a tough... It can be a tough time. Joining the list of Protoss players that are sometimes looking like the next Protoss genius. And sometimes looking like, why did we ever think of them like that? Either way, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed as much as I did. I hope I made your day just a little bit better. And if you got the means and motivation, be awesome to check out Patreon or YouTube membership. But I hear liking and subscribing is still free, at least for now. So thank you to our mule patrons for bringing in the extra minerals. Big Jake, Davendor, Kate, Mario, Suit. Glad you still enjoy. And to everyone, thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Good luck. Have fun. Stay tuned.